How did you wind up in Oswego,
Yeah,
Texas?
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I got my so I went to college in Radford, Virginia in
Okay.
2004, and it was a party school. Okay, but I
Mhm.
I went there because because everybody would has to go to college after they do high school, right? That was sort of the norm, and I didn't, again, being an immigrant at that age, I hadn't really thought things through. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll go to college because that's what you do. And, I just, my head wasn't in the game. Right. And
Mhm.
so I actually ended up like my grades were still good, but I was like, I changed my major like 5 times. I went from like accounting to elementary ed to marketing to um, German to psychology. And then eventually, I got sort of in trouble with the university because my dorm room had smelled like cannabis. But when the police came, they couldn't find any cannabis because there wasn't any cannabis because it was all gone. But it still smelled like it. So, so the university could still sort of, have sanctions against me for that. And so I ended up reading the student handbook immediately because I was like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. Because at that point in time, they were trying to bust down against, partying. There wasn't this huge enrollment crisis back then where they were just trying to keep people, right? And so they, I knew I was going to at some point have a hearing with the university. But then I found in the bylaws that you can withdraw from the university before any conduct things come about. And on your transcript, it will show that you withdrew from the university and there's no questions asked, right? Because back then, again, if you, were to leave a university for conduct reasons, there could be some repercussions for getting into other schools. And so I sort of, I withdrew uh, after really irritating my parents, because I had to do that thing where you call your parents, be like, remember how you said if I told you the truth, you wouldn't be mad at me. Yeah, I had to really test that maxim. Anyway, so then I sort of moved back home and I started working at Domino's Pizza, which was, by the way, the best job I ever had was working at Domino's Pizza. Like I would, if they would pay me what I get paid now, maybe just like a little bit more than what I get paid now, I would just do that forever because it is just like pepperoni and cheese, sometimes ham and pineapple. Like that's it. That's all you have to worry about. But anyways, so I was working at Domino's and like I was irritated. I was irritated about this because my grades were good. I was like, this is unfair. Like this is not cool. And so that started getting me thinking about like policy and like laws. I was like, this is literally like a plant, and we've all just decided together, let's make this plant arbitrarily illegal, right?
Mhm.
And then you begin, and so then as I'm working at Domino's, right, I'm working with people. So my parents live in a wealthy area. And then I'm working at Domino's Pizza, which are not people who live in wealthy areas, right? So I'm like interacting with different people. A lot of the Domino's delivery drivers back then, at least where I was working, I'm not making sweeping statements here. We're all cannabis users, right? And so you sort of you realize you're like, this is ridiculous. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. And so um, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take one criminal justice class at a community college. And so I took a class and I was like, all right, I like this. And then I continued on taking criminal justice classes at this community college. And I was really beginning to think about drug policy and crime and the police and all that. And
Mhm.
so then I transferred to Old Dominion University, got my bachelor's degree. And at that point in time, I was like, well, there was one day where when I was at Old Dominion, I was sitting and studying with somebody, and I was explaining some social bonding theory to them. And at some point, they were like, "Dude, you should become a professor." And I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe. Like that would be a pretty sweet gig." And so then I was like, "I'll get a master's degree." So I went to IUP in Pennsylvania, got a master's degree there. And then decided to come to George Mason University to get a PhD. And they had a really good PhD program. They still have a really good PhD program in criminology, law, and society. What sets that apart from any other criminology or criminal justice program is they focus on this sociological aspect of thinking about the law a little bit more abstractly and what it implies. And so I got my PhD there, and then I took my first job in 2016 at um, University of Southern Indiana. Um, and it was cool. Like I really enjoyed the people there. Like Midwestern people are just the kindest people ever. You know, we had a great community there, but unfortunately, given that it was in Indiana, and and my wife being a teacher, she wasn't really getting the fulfillment in her job that she was seeking. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna look at jobs in New York. I'm gonna look at jobs in California. So I got a bunch of job interviews, because during my time at USI, I was able to publish a lot. And so I was I could be selective of where I wanted to go. But I was friends with this one guy, at USI who was a janitor there, and he and I would always just sort of, he'd come to my office, we'd talk smack about, just just talking smack. And so I'm like looking at jobs, and he's like, "Wait, Oswego?" And I was like, "Yeah, Oswego. I never heard of it." He's like, "Dude, I've lived there when I was younger. You should so
Oh,
apply there." And I was like,
nice.
"All right." So I applied there, thinking, "All right, this is gonna be like I'm gonna apply here. It's gonna be a practice run, right? Like that's cool." So I go get a phone interview. I do well on it. I get an on-campus interview, right? And I'm like, all right, this is going to be my dry run for, when, all these other California school job, interviews are happening and so on. And I get to Oswego, and I'm like, this place is kind of cool. I mean, it looked a little bit Eastern Bloc, like, because with all the like
Yeah.
rectangle and square buildings,
Yeah.
100%.
and it was snowing sideways.
Oh,
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
you went there in the winter.
yeah, I went there in
Oh
like
man.
it was like early winter too. It was like November, and it was
Oof.
pretty rough.
Surprised you
But
stayed.
you know, the thing that got me right was, so when you do one of these interviews, you have to do like a teaching demo. Okay. And so my now department chair picks me up at the airport on a Sunday, and I was supposed to do this demo on a Monday. And he's like, we have some time to kill before we go to dinner. Do you want to go see the classroom that you're going to be doing your teaching demo in, so that when you practice it, you can like envision your success, man? He said it to me just like that. And I was like, all right, this is like, I don't care anymore.
Nice.
Like, this is the kind of people I want to work with, right? So that was it. Just I remember that night I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and nail this. This is not gonna be a practice run. I'm gonna go nail this. And like I remember leaving Oswego, um, sitting in the airport, and I texted my wife. I was like, we're moving to Oswego. I was like, this is it. Like, I need to get this job. This is the only job I want. Like, I want to come here. And so it was literally just the people that drew me to SUNY Oswego.